If you've ever struggled to find your authentic voice, or you're ready to strengthen the one you already have, then Amplify with Darrin L. Harris is for you. Each week, I share practical communication strategies, inspiring stories, and real tools to help you speak with confidence. Own every room you step into and transform your life. Subscribe today and join the growing community of voices that refuse to be silenced. Your voice matters. Let's amplify it together. This is Darrin L. Harris, and this is the Amplify with Darrin L. Harris podcast, and we're behind the scenes right now. I'm actually about to record another trailer for the podcast. Now, we begin our inaugural show on October 3rd. October 3rd, that's Friday, October 3rd. And so we want you to tune in. But until then, I'm really excited that you have joined me even now. And if you have any questions or there are specific topics that you would like me to address, by all means, you can utilize our website, which is Amplify DLH, which is my initials, amplifydlh.com. So you can go to amplifydlh.com and you can leave me a message there. Also, on that website, you will see a tab that says listen to podcasts. So you can click there. It'll send you right over to Buzzsprout, where you can get access. Welcome to Amplify with Darrin L. Harris, and I am yours truly, Darrin L. Harris, where silence is not an option. This is where silence ends and confidence begins. And so I want to thank each and every one of you, of course, for joining me today for this introductory podcast. We're doing several of these as we get ready and geared up, of course, for October 3rd, which is our inaugural show. It's going to be Friday, October 3rd. And so you can tune in, of course, to all podcast streaming sites and you'll be able to get some information. But here's what I want to do right now. I want to make sure that my listening audience has an opportunity to get to know me. And so I've asked a few people to send me questions via our website, which is Amplify DLH, which is my initials, amplifydlh.com. So you can go to the website and you can ask questions of me about the podcast and the conversations that we're going to be having, or if you have any suggestions, if there are things that you want to know about as it relates to communication or finding your authentic voice, you can actually send me a message at amplifydlh.com. Also on the website, you'll see a tab that says Listen to Podcasts. I want you to go ahead and click that Listen to Podcasts, and it'll send you over to Buzzsprout, my Buzzsprout webpage there. And I want you to share that information. I want you to share and let people know that we're going to be, of course, on starting October 3rd, Friday, October 3rd. And so when we want you to tune in, and we will be posting weekly, and we're going to have some great conversations. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of things. This really is about finding our authentic voice. And so I had a few people to already send some questions in. So I wanted to address some of those. And what I tried to do is I tried to break it down into different categories. So some people were asking me about my personal journey and my personal story. Here's what I know. People want to know you, right? Because as people get to know you, they'll get to trust you. Not only that, but we are introducing individuals to a new podcast, and I just believe that it's important that you know who your host is. And so there's some people who ask me about my personal journey, my personal story, and I'll give some of that information because I believe that it's going to help you. And I try to say to people the ugly parts, right? The most ugliest parts of our story is where our greatest testimony is. And we're going to be sharing a lot of that because I got some mess, so I'll be sharing some things with you with the hopes that someone else will hear my story and hear some of the challenges and my points of pain as it relates to leadership, as it relates to life. And hopefully, me sharing will also give others, of course, the strength, the encouragement, and the tenacity to keep going and keep persevering, because it's not over. And I was sharing with someone the other day, and I was telling them, look, it's like I'm a cat that has more than 9 lives because I've had to start over many times. In fact, I don't even say start over, and I want to encourage somebody and stop right here and say to some of us, we don't have to start over. You really just need to start from where you stopped. I want you to think about that for a minute. Let me say it again. You don't really have to start over. Some of us just need to start from where we stopped. You hear that? It's about accountability, and you'll hear me say this a lot here on Amplify with Darrin L. Harris. Look, we keep the focus on us, because we are trying to go and grow to the next level. And if I don't know anything about anything else, one thing I do know is that, look, if I expect people to buy what I have to say, then I got to own the room. And a part of owning the room is owning and taking responsibility of our lives, of our successes, of our failures, and all of those things. It makes us who we are. And so there's nothing to be ashamed about. And that's what we're going to be talking about here on Amplify. So I've broken some of these questions down, and some of them ask about what do I do for work? What am I doing? And what have I done? I think that's important in terms of credibility because a lot of people don't know, your story, they just kind of pop up. But there are things about your life journey that can be helpful to others. A lot of people don't know. I've lived many lives, whether I was in the military, whether I was in the music business, whether I was a CEO of a nonprofit, which was amazing to me. But there are multiple things, and there are multiple things and lessons that I've learned along the way. And so we're going to be sharing some of those things right here on Amplify because I want to help you. Not only do I want to help you, but I want to hope you. Why? Because my name is Darrin L. Harris. And remember, I am your friend. You'll hear me say that a lot too. Another question that I had was more geared towards vision. But just for today, somebody say just for today. Just for today, I want to focus on a few of the questions that I had about my personal story and my personal journey. And one of the questions someone asked me was, what inspired me? What was it that inspired me to start Amplify, the Amplify podcast? And I thought about it for a minute, and I remembered I had to go back to a time in my life that I considered a point of pain. Because growing up, I was a really shy kid. I was really shy and I wouldn't speak up for myself. And there were many times in my life where I found myself silencing my voice. Have you ever been there before where you wanted to say something, but you didn't? You didn't know how to say it, so you didn't. You didn't know why to say it, so you didn't. Yeah, that was me. And I remember several times in my life, and I made that mistake, and I knew that I should have said something. I should have spoke up, but I allowed fear in some cases to stop me from speaking up. And then sometimes it was just what I said earlier. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know when to say it. Now some people, they don't have that problem. And sometimes people don't know when not to say stuff. Come on here, somebody. You probably know somebody like that. I mean, just no filter, no tact at all. But that's not me. And it wasn't me. And so, when I thought about that question, what inspired me to start Amplify, I said it was because of my own points of pain, the times in my life where I felt like I needed to say something. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know why to say it or when to say it. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be helping individuals, of course, who may have struggled with finding their authentic voice. Especially in spaces of social justice. We're dealing with a lot in America right now. And I believe that it is so important that individuals, especially in social justice spaces and spaces where people are advocating for others or standing up for others, you have to be able to find your authentic voice. You have to be able to speak up when everybody's shutting up. You have to be willing to stand up when everybody's sitting down. And that's what inspired me to start Amplify. Another question that I had was a really good question. I think it was a question that didn't take me long to really think about. But the question was around what was the turning point when I realized that my voice had power? When did I realize that it was my experience that made me the expert? And I think I have to give credit to individuals in my life, those individuals who have called me mentor, who have called me life coach, or just everyday people, just having conversation with them. And, they said, thank you. What you said helped me. And I get that a lot on social media. They may not say it in the comments. They may not like or love anything, but they'll slide in the DM and they'll say thank you. I remember one time just being at a Starbucks and the guy comes up to me and he said, thank you for what you do. And I didn't even know this guy. And so you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. Somebody said somebody's always watching. Somebody's always listening. And so it's important to me, especially as it relates to leadership. And here's one of the things I believe, and you'll hear me say from time to time right here on Amplify with Darrin L. Harris, is that leadership is about influence. It absolutely is about influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And everything rises and falls because of leadership. It absolutely does. I wholeheartedly believe that. And that's why I'm here. That's why I have started Amplify, going back to that original question, is because I understand that there are going to be individuals who are aspiring leaders, who are seeking to increase their influence, who are leaders who are seeking to increase their influence, who are social entrepreneurs who are seeking to increase their influence, who are faith leaders who are seeking to increase their influence. Why? Because leadership is about influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And everything rises and falls because of leadership. And so I'm here for you. That's why Amplify has been created. That's why we're going to be coming on and giving you everything that we have, because we want you to become better influencers. And here's what I know is because when you become a better influencer, you will be able to create high performing, high impacting, and sustainable organizations that change your part of the world. That's why I'm here. I know exactly what my life's purpose is, exactly what my life's call is. And the very fact that you're listening to me right now says that you're a part of this journey. Leadership is a journey. It's not a destination. And I'm hoping that you take that journey with me right here on Amplify, because we're going to be talking about a lot of great things. Now, there are some other questions that I had, and I would love to talk more about those, and I will, because one of the questions was around any personal struggles or challenges that I faced in life, and I want to share some of those because I believe it will be helpful. And so once again, I'm just introducing myself to you. But before I go, and I wanted to share a story with you, because what you may know about me is that I'm an author, and I wrote a book called Living Life, Leaving Legacy. I also wrote an ebook that is called The Unwritten Rules of leadership. You may know that I was the CEO of America and Louisiana's first and only statewide family support organization that helped young people who were at imminent risk of out of home placement, meaning that they were going to be in institutions and hospitals. And we helped those families. You may know that I was the CEO of that particular nonprofit. You may also know that I was a Marine. I am a Marine. The Marine's going to get me for that one. Once a Marine, always a Marine. But here's what you may not know. I haven't always had confidence in my communication. I haven't had confidence that I'm able to display now. It hasn't always been easy. And I remember when I joined the Marine Corps, one of the things I knew that I was going to have to learn how to do is to swim, because every Marine must pass something we call swim qualification. For short, we call it swim qual. And I, right before going into boot camp that summer, I took some swimming lessons. And I mean, I learned the very basics. I mean, like bare basics. I knew how to float. I knew how to do a couple of butterflies. I knew how to swim enough to get me through Marine Corps boot camp, or so I thought. And so fast forward, here we are. It's swim qual. I'm in the Marine Corps, and, we're getting through this process. We're almost done. But when it came to swim qual, we go in and we have some instruction. And I remember something strange happened, because, there was all these stacks of helmets and uniforms and boots and rubber rifles. And we were told as recruits to go and put on all of that stuff. Now, mind you, when I took swimming lessons before boot camp, I was not prepared for what I was about to experience in Marine Corps boot camp. I knew how to swim with my swimming trunks on, but no, now I had to have a helmet, my full uniform, boots, a rubber rifle, and a backpack. A backpack. I totally wasn't prepared for what I was about to experience. And more to that was I had to get on this ladder and climb this ladder. And once I got to the top of the ladder, I remember the drill instructor saying to me, when you get up to the top of the ladder, you are to look down, look up, and step off. Now, there are some very specific reasons why in that order we had to do it. But I got stuck. I heard him and I heard what the instructions were, but all I can think about is, here I am climbing this ladder to get to the next level so that I can be a Marine, but I got all of this stuff on me. And now I'm being told to look down, look up, and step off. Look down, look up, and step off. Now, I thought about it for a minute. I said, I had come all this way. I had come this far to be a Marine. And all I knew is that I wanted it bad. I wanted to be a United States Marine bad. And so if I was going to be a Marine, I had to pass the test. I had to pass swim qual. So I found enough courage in myself. I found enough strength in myself to follow the instructions of the drill instructor. And I looked down, I looked up, and I stepped off. Into the water, into the deep I go. And the only thought that I had on my mind as I jumped off of that diving board and as I was in that water, all I could think of, I guess this is it. I'm not going to be a Marine. I'm about to drown with all of this stuff on. And then all of a sudden, as I was underwater, I felt myself levitating. And all of a sudden, I was being raised up. And then I began to float. And what was ironic about the entire story, the backpack that I had on was the very thing that allowed me to float. What are you saying? There's a lot of lessons in this story because, the first thing is, you're going to have to take some steps. There's some things that you want to do in life, and you're going to have to take the steps to get there. It's going to take work. The question for all of us is, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to take the steps to get to where you want to go? Do you want it bad enough to get elevated? You're going to have to take the steps. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but I know I'm talking to somebody. You have been wanting to do something, whether it is to start a business, go back to school, mend some relationships. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to take the steps to get to the next level. But once you get up there, it's not enough. Taking the steps is not enough, because now you have to take the next steps. You have to step out by faith. You have to look down as I had to look down. You have to look up as I had to look up. And then you have to jump off. You have to take the leap of faith. In other words, you have to look down and face your fears. Look up and pray to the God of your understanding. And then take the leap of faith. Step and dive into the deep. Because the very thing, just like I thought, that backpack and all of that stuff that was weighing me down was going to cause me to drown, that was the very thing that lifted me up. All of that weight that I thought was weight was the very thing that lifted me up. And there's a lot of us, we have become static and stuck because we think that our past, things we've experienced, or the things that are going to hold us down. We're worried about what other people are going to say, whether they'll bring up our past, or they'll talk about the other failed businesses that we had. We'll talk about our other failed relationships. The very thing that you think is going to hold you down is going to be the very thing that lifts you up. But you got to take the leap of faith. You got to be willing to step out by faith. And so I just wanted to encourage somebody today and say, take the leap of faith. Because the question really is, once again, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to take the steps? Do you want it bad enough to take the leap of faith? I think you do. And I think that's why you've tuned in to Amplify with Darrin L. Harris. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of things, but that was one of the stories that I hold near and dear to me. So every time that I think about giving up, every time I have a dream, I have a vision, and I start to talk down on myself or allow my self-limiting beliefs to stop me from taking the actions to doing what I want to do, from being what I want to be, I think about that story. In fact, many of us, we have those stories. We have those situations in our lives that we could hold on to. Think about it. There have been times where you thought that you just wasn't going to make it. You felt like throwing in the towel and giving up. But when you made a conscious decision that you were going to go and grow to the next level, it happened. Just think about it. Every time you think it's too difficult, think about the times where it was difficult and you still survived and you still made it through. Look at you. You're still growing. You're still strong. You're still in your right mind. Your light's still on. Come on here, somebody. Yeah. So that's what Amplify is about. If you've ever struggled to find your authentic voice, or you're ready to strengthen the one you already have, then Amplify with Darrin L. Harris is for you. Each week, I share practical communication strategies, inspiring stories, and real tools to help you speak with confidence. Own every room you step into and transform your life. Subscribe today and join the growing community of voices that refuse to be silenced. Your voice matters. Let's amplify it together.